Okay, welcome to yet another tutorial brought to you by tutvid.com. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at creating and drawing from scratch the speaker, or a speaker kind of like the one pictured above here. Now, we are going to create the speaker base, and this bottom speaker here. We're probably not going to go over how to do the stuff on top, although I will upload this PNG file to the site. You can go to the download section of the site and download this exact speaker here that I'm looking at right now. And I will leave all the layers here so you can see the layer structure and how I did everything, and you can come in and mess around with it or use it for whatever you want. Alright, so let's get started here. Let's come up here to New and create a new document. We're going to make it 350 pixels wide by 650 tall. I'm going to open up my Properties panel, and I'm going to hit Canvas Size. I only want that to be 600 pixels tall. And that is also with a resolution, of 72 dpi. And you know what? I'm going to make my canvas size a little smaller yet. Let's take it down to 515. Hoping we'll be able to see pretty much, there we go, the entire thing on this screen. Alright, first thing we're going to do is come over to Layers, and we're going to double click your bottom layer, and we're going to rename it speaker_base. Just like that. And we're going to go over to the Vector Tools section, click and hold the Vector Tool, Rectangle tool, and move down, and there's a Rounded Rectangle tool. We're going to draw out a rounded rectangle onto our stage. Whoops. Just like that. Now, you can see the edges are far too rounded for me. Well, the way we're going to edit that is, if you notice, here at the top and bottom of your rounded rectangle, we have two yellow dots. Two at the bottom, two at the top. If you click and hold them, you can actually adjust all of the corners of your rectangle in or out. We're going to push them out a little bit. Matter of fact, if you hold Alt, you can just affect one corner. Okay, so you can make some pretty cool shapes playing with it like that. As a matter of fact, I think Fireworks tells you, yeah, hold Alt or Option for individual corners. So when you hold Alt or Option, you can just edit individual corners. I don't want to do that though. I want to edit them all because generally speaking, speakers are kind of uniform in the way they look. Okay, so there's our base, the base of our speaker. Now, one thing I want to do is apply a gradient to it. We're going to come over here to our color picker. Whoops. We're going to select the fill category first, next to the color picker. And we're going to hit gradient and linear gradient. And you're going to see it's going to apply a linear gradient right off the bat. Now, I want to come in here to my color picker, and I want to select the white, and I just want to select the middle gray right there. And I'm going to click and drag this handle on the left of my gradient to the bottom left-hand corner, and click and drag the handle on the right to the top right-hand corner. That's going to give me this nice kind of gradient going right down into that corner. Okay, so that's going to be the base of our rectangle for the time, or the base of our speaker, excuse me, for the time being. I'm going to lock that layer so I don't accidentally select it and mess it up. I'm going to click to create a new layer, and I'm going to double click and name that. I'm going to name this speak_1. This is going to be the speaker located in the bottom portion of the entire speaker here. Grab the ellipse tool from the vector tools section. And actually, before we go and draw this, I forgot to mention something. We're going to go over here to the rounded rectangle again. I'm going to hit unlock that layer. That's clicking that space between the eye and the actual thumbnail of the artwork that locks or unlocks your layer. I'm going to hit Command or Control T to free transform this layer, but the only reason I'm using free transform here is so I get these guides lining me up with the exact center of my object here. You can see there's a circle in the middle, and there's also two squares on the middle of the the top and bottom edges of my rounded rectangle. With your rulers out, and you can show your rulers by clicking View Rulers, I'm going to click on one of the rulers and drag out a guide and position it right down the dead center of this speaker. This is going to allow me to place my actual speakers on the speaker base in a much more precise way. So now, with that ellipse tool selected, I'm going to put my crosshair right on that line. I'm going to hold down the Alt and the Shift keys to both constrain it to a perfect circle and pull it out of the center. Now, I want the speaker to be about that big, but as you can see, I'm getting really close to the bottom there. Well, you can move your object when you're pulling it out like this by just hitting and holding space. I'm just going to shift it up a little bit, let go of space, and you're back to normal. Okay, so just like that. And I've created the first part of my speaker. Now I want to lighten this up quite a bit, and I do want to adjust the gradient too. So I'm going to grab the gradient tool. I'm going to adjust the gradient. I'm going to make it kind of opposite of what the other one is. I'm going to pull that handle out a little more so it kind of lightens up a little bit. But really, to lighten it up more, we're going to go down to Filters, Adjust Color, and I'm going to hit Brightness Contrast. And we're just going to brighten it up quite a bit. Kill off some of the contrast, or put more contrast in, excuse me. And put the brightness somewhere around 50. Okay? And we're going to come down to Live Filters again, and we're going to go to Bevel and Emboss and Inner Bevel. I am moving off screen, by the way, so hope you're not getting hopelessly frustrated. I'm going to shift this up here so you can actually see what I'm doing here. I just placed Inner Bevel. I'm going to double click it to edit it, and I'm going to switch this to Smooth. I'm going to switch the width to 4. I'm going to switch the softness to 6. And the contrast, I'm going to leave right around 75. Let's try 70. And the angle is fine for me. We can put it around 50 or 135. Either will work. I'm actually going to do somewhere around 50 for now. Okay. So there we go. We have created the bottom part of the speaker. So what we're going to do here is click and drag this down to the new bitmap image button on the layers panel. Now the new bitmap image button is the button second from the right at the bottom, right next to the trash can. There's a little button. And the reason we're doing that is so we don't create an entire new folder. We just want to create new bitmap layers within this layer folder because this is all going to be part of speaker 1. Alright, so with that layer selected, we're going to hit Command or Control T to free transform this, and now holding Shift and Alt, or Shift and Option if you're on the Mac, we're going to click and drag in. Okay, holding the Shift and Alt obviously constrains your proportions and allows you to drag back into the center, so we get an exact duplicate of that image, just a little bit smaller. Hit Enter to apply those changes, and you can see we've got another little speaker in here. I'm going to get rid of this inner bevel by selecting it and hitting the minus key. I can open Fireworks back up too. Almost forgot there. And I'm going to get rid of the brightness contrast adjustment layer as well. Now we're going to switch this gradient here from a linear gradient. If you move down the list, there's a gradient called a cone. That's the gradient we want. You can see what it does. It kind of makes our speaker look like it's dropping back in. That is good. We want to adjust our color, hit brightness contrast. We want to increase the contrast just a little bit and drop the brightness. We're going to do this, and we're going to select here. We're going to edit this white. We're going to make it gray. We're not going to make it quite so bright. Just like that. Matter of fact, I'm going to select that black. I'm going to come up here to custom colors, and I'm going to make it not quite black. Okay, just an extremely dark gray. Okay, and as you can see, that is not quite dark enough. I'm going to try that gray. There we go. That's better. So the color just before black and the color just before white. Those are the two colors we're going to use for that part of the speaker. Now, to make this even more realistic looking, we are going to add another live filter, and that is down in Shadow and Glow. I'm off screen once again. And I'm going to hit Inner Glow. Okay, and we're going to make the distance 6. We're going to blur it 6. And we're going to drop the opacity to somewhere around 25. Is good. Just like that. So now the speaker looks like it's kind of dropping in there more. Matter of fact, that inner glow, I want to make that even less on the opacity slide. Let's try 18. There we go. That's better. Now, one last thing we need to do to complete this portion of the speaker is duplicate this layer once again down to the new bitmap image, and we're going to hit Command or Control T and hold Shift or Option and drag this as the small one there in the center. Speakers always have that small third section of the speaker there in the center. And we're going to make this a gradient as well, but this is going to be the radial gradient. And we're going to select a gradient editor, and we're going to flip these colors. Okay, just like that. Matter of fact, I'm going to make this the next lighter gray. Just like that. I'm going to move the actual color of the gradient to down here. Oh, no, actually up here looks good. Just like that. I'm going to kind of stretch it out a little bit like that, and we've got the center of our speaker. The last thing I'm going to do to that part of the speaker is I'm going to get rid of the inner glow, and I'm going to give it a regular glow, an outer glow. And you can actually do some pretty cool effects with speakers. as far as making it look like there's LEDs or something in there glowing out through the speaker. There's a lot of cool things if I were to like switch this color to green, and I could expand it or whatever. You could do a lot of really cool things, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to make this a simple white glow here, and we're going to reduce the opacity to somewhere around 45, and we can leave the blur at 12. Well, we'll leave it at 10 for now. Alright, so there we go. We've got a nice little glow there, and this is our bottom speaker. Now, one thing we have to do is put the screws in, because these things have screws that hold them into place. So I'm going to create an entirely new layer, and this is where we're going to store all the screws for our entire speaker. So I'm going to name that layer screws. And all of these screws are actually going to be pretty much the same. I just hit Command or Control plus to zoom in, and I'm zoomed right in on our speaker. I'm going to place right here in the exact center of the bottom a little circle with that same exact gradient as this center piece of our speaker has. Alright, you want to make the screw smaller than the edge here of our speaker. And just like that, just a little radial gradient will do for a screw, because when we're zoomed out, you really can't tell what it is. And there's only so much detail you can get when you're working with these non-vector images. Well, actually, technically these are vector, but there's only so much detail we're going to get. So I'm going to select that first screw, and I'm going to hit Command or Control C, and then Command or Control V to paste it. And I'm going to move this straight up until I'm in line with that. And you can see I've got my screw up there. Now I'm going to select both of these, hit Command C to copy, and Command V or Control V if you're on PC. I'm saying these shortcuts as if I'm using a Mac, and I'm not. Okay, so I just pasted them. You can also do that by coming up here to Edit and hitting Copy, and then Edit Paste. Then we're coming here to Modify, Transform, and Free Transform. There we go. And now holding the Shift key, so you can constrain yourself to 45-degree turns. I'm going to rotate it around until these are 90 degrees from the others. And you can see there we have our screws lined up now. You can put others if you want, but I'm not going to right now. What we're going to take a look at is adding that shine to the base of the speaker, and maybe we will, if time permits, put another speaker, or maybe like that little rounded second rectangle up top. And I'll leave the last two speakers for you to do, or something. We'll see. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, I'm going to lock up the screws layer so we don't mess it up. I'm going to lock up speaker 1 layer so we don't mess it up. And down here in speaker base layer, I'm going to unlock the rounded rectangle, and I'm going to hit New Bitmap Image. Although actually I don't need to do that because we're going to be using the pen tool. And anytime you use these vector tools, you automatically create a new layer. Now, if you don't know how to use the pen tool, just try to follow along here. I hope you don't get too frustrated. So, click with the pen and hold. Now hold the Shift key as well and pull straight up till you get to about the top of that speaker we created. Okay, so I'm clicking a point down here at the bottom of the speaker, holding Shift and just pulling my tangent handle straight up until it gets to the top of the speaker. Now you can see you have, when you move the pen tool around, you've got this line attached to it. That's good. Something hasn't gone wrong. That's good. So come up here to the top corner of your document and click again. And as soon as you click, hold Shift once again and pull your tangent handle straight up. Okay? Now, just simply click a couple times to create, these are called anchor points every time you click, just to bring yourself back around the outside of the speaker, like I've done. And then, finally, once you come around, click on that original anchor point there to join and create one continuous shape. And you're going to see here in just a second, I'm going to get rid of the stroke, and I'm going to apply a white fill to this. And you can see we have filled our object with white. Now, I want my object to be a little more curved. So we can do that. That's one of the beauties of working with paths, is you can go in and always edit them later. It's a very nice thing. I just dropped the opacity of that path so I could see through the speaker a little easier. Come up here to your selection tools and hit sub-selection tool. Now with your sub-selection tool, that's the white cursor, not the black one, you can select anchor points and you can move them around. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this point until I'm just at the top of the lower left-hand curve of my rounded rectangle. Okay, just outside of the box, so we still get a sharp cutoff there at the edge of the speaker. And I'm going to do virtually the same thing with the one on top. Just move it to the top right-hand corner, just like that. And you can see we've got this nice little curve going up our rounded rectangle. And in order to mask this off, we're just going to select the rounded rectangle layer. We're going to come up here to Edit, Copy, select the path, That's that shine, and we're going to hit Edit, Paste as Mask. And there we go. It is now masked off within our speaker. Okay, and that's all we're going to do in this one. To go and learn how to place the last two speakers, basically you do the same thing as the first one. You can tweak them a little differently. You could add some more contrast to, let's say, this center object. Might make it look a little better. Might make it pop a little more. But basically, if you want to finish making the speaker, if you need a guide to helping you do that, you can go to the site, www.tutvid.com, and go to the download section of the site, and I will have this file up under the fireworks download section. Alright, so I hope you learned something from this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I certainly hope you'll go to the site and check it out for more video tutorials, if for nothing else to go get this download and to finish up this project here that we've started. So, thanks for watching, and thanks.